Hey, my name's Brandon Lanny. I was born and raised in Central Florida. I lived there most part of my life. I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up with going to church every Sunday, being real involved. My grandfather was a deacon and a Sunday school teacher. My father was as well. And so we were really involved in the church growing up. You know, when I was about 13 or so, I had my first beer and smoked my first bit of pot when I was about 13. And from then on, it was just kind of like a hit or miss all through my teenage years. Growing up, I was at a Christian school and everything. You know, when I went to high school, that was about the first time that I really started becoming friends with people that came from different homes. It was my first time ever going to a public school. Right away, as soon as I came in, I kind of put everyone from my past and my childhood behind me. I made all new friends right away. I really kind of just quit hanging out with everybody that I grew up with from my kindergarten to 8th grade. Kind of just went on my own, started skateboarding more, and just getting really involved with that group of kids, hanging out at the local skate park every day, hanging around with a bunch of the BMX kids, and just started surrounding myself with those people. And I found a little hope in some of them that came from Christian homes, and was like convinced my parents that, hey, yeah, they came from a Christian home too. So it was all right for me to go hang out with them, even though they weren't living the life that I was brought up living. There was a couple of those friends from the skate park that we really started hanging around each other a lot more. We started buying a lot more pot. We started selling our own pot, trying to make some money. We started hooking it up at kids at the skate park. Some of my other friends at the skate park started finding other drugs. You know, I always thought, no, I wasn't going to be. I was just going to be a stoner, and I was okay with that. You know, I would drink on the weekends and smoke pot. And some of my friends that were still in high school started finding other drugs. I'm sitting at the table just staring off into space at Thanksgiving dinner, not eating a thing. They started wondering, and I remember everyone got up from the table except for my grandmother and my mother. And they decided to have this talk with me at the Thanksgiving table about weed and cigarettes. And I just look at them like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what I'm messing around with now, and you're trying to have your first talk with me ever about weed and cigarettes? And so I take it, I just listened to them and got up and left, went back to the skate park that day. I'll never forget the kid, when I was walking up to the skate park, one of my old friends who kind of went his own way when I started doing the heavier drugs. I was walking up to the skate park and all I hear is, oh, here comes Laney, he's all strung out again. So all this went on for a little while. I tried to move away. I went to Georgia with my cousin and my uncle for a little while. Found out my cousin's doing the same mess I'm doing. That didn't work out, so I moved back to Florida. Lived up in St. Augustine and stayed there for a few years. You know, I found a nice little hole in St. Augustine. I got away from the drugs for the most part. I kind of put all that stuff behind me and became more of an alcoholic. And I moved to St. Augustine. I started selling pot right away and just met up with a bunch of the punk kids in St. Augustine and became pretty good friends with all of them. Ended up living with them in a house we had down there called Fort Booyah. And you know, it was just a show house. We had bands play there 2-3 nights a week. It was the life, man. It was for about a year straight. We just had shows going on all the time. Bands from all over the country playing. More beer than you could ever imagine, and just, you know, that's what my life revolved around. The drugs kind of took back burner for booze, and that's what my life turned into. My life turned into a non-stop party at that point. You know, I hopped a ride when I was drunk one night, got a ride, forgot how I even got to Richmond, and then a second time was about a week. Kind of did the same thing, just hopped a ride up to Richmond. I was in Richmond for 4 months is where I met my wife. I met Ashley up here, and so I went back to Florida, and while I was back, like, I talked to her a bunch and had to come back to Richmond to be with her pretty much, and I was like, I gotta go back. But one day, so when I came up, between the time that I left and came up, she got involved with the rock. And she said the only way she would hang out with me is if I came to church. So I said okay, and I came to my first New Wine class with Ashley, with Pastor Ranch, and I fell in love with it right there. The past 2 years, God's really blessed my life. I ended up marrying my wife, Ashley. We just celebrated our first year anniversary. back in August, and we have a baby on the way due in February. You know, I've been blessed with to be an overseer of a discipleship home. So summer of 2009, Pastor G allowed me to start a bicycle outreach where it started out originally just going out into with the Rock on the Road outreaches and doing free bicycle repair for the kids in the neighborhoods. But right away we saw it was a big hit, so he allowed me to just make it a weekly thing through last summer and last fall, and we watched it, and we were able to fix just last summer and last fall about 300 bikes for kids. So we were able to get a grant this past year where we can get more parts and more stuff to fix bikes for more kids, and we've been able through that to give away probably over the past 2 years close to 100 bikes or so, just to give away to kids who don't already have bikes. You know, I'm serving at the big house every day. I'm just living my life for God. You know, it's awesome what God's done in my life, and you know, you live your life for Him, He's gonna bless you.
Imagine staying in this moment, staying in this moment forever.